Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how I can create this abstract sound visualizer in Blender. So let's get started. First let's hit Shift A and add a plane. Go to Geometry Nodes and close this window here. Click on New. Delete the group input and add a grid. Alt Shift click it. Set the size to 20 and the vertices to 18. Add an instance on points node. This one. Put it here. Now we need a set material node and a set shade smooth node. Add an icosphere. Set the radius to 0.5 and plug the mesh into the instance. Also set the subdivisions to 3. Add a wave texture set to diagonal. And now connect the color to the scale here. Set the scale to 0, keyframe it, and open the graph editor. Make sure the node is selected. Now go to key, and by the way, make sure you are in frame 1 when setting the keyframe. So now go to key and bake sound to F curves. Now go to the folder where you have your file. I'm going to use this one. As you can see, you can also use video files. And now when I press play, we've got something like this. I'm going to add the sound later. Now let's go to the material properties and click on new and select it here. Let's set this to the shader editor. Usually I'd go up here, but we need the graph editor anyway, so it's okay. Delete the principal BSDF and add a glass BSDF. Plug that in here and add a color ramp. Set it from RGB to HSL and to counterclockwise. Now make the black red and the white yellow. And now as you can see, we've got all these colors in between. Connect the color to the color. Now go to frame 1. Add a value node. Plug the value into the factor here and keyframe the value. Again, make sure it's selected. Go to key and bake sound to F curves. And let's use the same video again. Go to the material preview. And now we've got something like this. I recommend that you save now. Let's add a cube. Scale it to 100. If you don't immediately see the volume, that's because of a bug in Blender, but if you move your view, you should see it. Back in layout mode, let's add an area light and rotate it on the Y by 180 degrees. Set the scale to 20 and set the power to 1 million. Move it down and let's set the spread to 30 degrees. As you can see, I set the strength back to 100,000. Go to shading and enable use nodes. Go to rendered view and let's zoom in on the light. Select the plane and let's duplicate these two nodes. Copy and paste them in here. We're going to have to keyframe this value again. So let's set it to 0 and connect the color to the color here. Open the graph editor and let's go to frame 1. Keyframe the value and go to key, bake sound to F curves, and let's use this again. Now let's go into the animation and see what it looks like. With the light selected, add a mix RGB and put it here. And let's set the factor to 0.65. Now let's go to layout mode again and set up the camera. Go into viewport shading and hit Shift A, camera. And let's select the plane and press delete and 1 to go into front view. and 6 3 times on the numpad, and 8 one time. Press Ctrl Alt 0 to go into camera view, and let's press, with the camera selected, press G Z to move it on the local Z axis, and now press R and X twice. Now press G Y to move it like this. Now go up here and enable depth of field and add an empty plane axis. Select the camera, go to depth of field and enable it, and select the empty. And let's set this to 0.1 for example. I think I'm going to move the camera in more, like this, and move it down. Or actually I'm going to rotate it on the X, like this, and move it in. Let's save again and go to rendered view, and under the render properties, enable denoise. If you have an NVIDIA GPU, you can use both optics or OpenImage denoise. If you don't, you can only use OpenImage denoise, but I prefer optics. Now go to color management, and here under look, set it to very high contrast. One more thing that we need to do is to go back to the shader, and with the value selected, check where the sound ends. So for me that's at frame 179. Go to layout mode and set it to wherever your sound ends. Now let's save again and press Ctrl F12 to render the animation. And once that's done, I'm going to show you how I can add the sound. Back in the shading tab, let's check real quick where the sound ends. For me that's at frame 179. For you it's probably going to be a different frame. Go back to the layout mode. And I also just wanted to let you know that if you change the frame rate, it probably won't work properly. Now let's change the end frame. Now let's create an output folder. I already did that. I will call the images rendered images. By the way, if you put an underscore after the name, Blender is going to automatically assign numbers to the frames. Now let's click on accept. Let's save again, go to render animation, and once it's done rendering, I will show you how to add the sound. Now that it's done rendering, let's close this window and go up here to video editing. Go to frame 1 and let's copy the file location here. And let's set this from JPEG to FFmpeg video. Go to encoding, container, and set it to MPEG-4 and the output quality to high quality. Under audio codec, set it to MP3. Now hit Shift A, image sequence, and paste in the location minus the name of the files. Now press A and enter. Now you can add either a sound or a movie. I'm going to add a movie, so I'm going to paste in the location. Now click on it and add movie strip. Delete the blue line here, and now we have only the sound left. Let's save again and go to render animation. And once that's done, you will have the video with the sound. So that's it for the tutorial. If you are interested, you can get the file for $1 on Gumroad for the link in the description. I hope you liked the tutorial, and I'll see you next time.